Hi everyone, there's been a torrent of spoilers lately. Today, FFG has just released spoilers for the second data pack in the Lunar Cycle. And the main spoilers from this pack are the set of currents, which are operations and events that both runners and corps play to control the flow of the game. Today I'll be looking at the corp currents. There are 3 of them so far that have been spoiled. One for neutral faction, one for HB, and one for Jinteki. Let's start with lag time, which is the neutral one. It should be noted that all currents cost 2 to play and cost 2 influence, except for the neutral one, which doesn't cost any influence. Lag time. All eyes have +1 strength. Now this is the baseline for corp currents, and it is very strong indeed. Yeah. Now I don't really have much to say about it. It's a very vanilla type of card. I mean, if FFG thought of implementing currents right at the start of the core box, lag time would definitely be in it. It's a very it's very plain, very easy to understand. I guess the most basic thing it does is that it makes most eyes cost more, 1 more to break for the runner, for the most part. There are a few other bonuses, but we won't go too deep into that. Let's look at the HB one. Enhanced Login Protocol. As an additional cost, to make the first run not made through a card ability, the runner must spend an additional click. This card is broken. Period. Oh gosh. This is really, really terrible to play against. Basically, what this card means is that as long as you just make a plain old run on any server, that means not using a run event or a click ability such as Sneak Door Beta, Keyhole, etc., you will have to pay an additional click. This game is all about running to your heart's content, running to force the corp to rest eyes and pay credits, running to access agendas. Having to pay an additional click, as put by some on the forums, is essentially like running into an enigma every single turn. That is ridiculous. That is extremely ridiculous. And you cannot afford to spend your events to make runs just to bypass this current. Like, for example, you don't want to spend account siphon on HQ when there's an unrest piece of ice in front. You want to face check it first. But face checking will cost you a click with this current op. It's a very, very powerful piece of current that I think will definitely get splashed in other factions. Unless, well, other factions get stronger currents. Yes, it is crazy. It's just crazy. Hopefully, they will rebalance it because I think it is way too strong. Moving on to Jinteki's one, Cerebral Static. The runner's identity text box is blank. Oh man, when I saw it, I was so impressed. I was just impressed by the developer's creativity. That is a work of genius. Blanking out an identity. Wow, that's amazing. Man. Good stuff. Yes. It's a very unique way. It's a very unique ability, and of course, that begs the question: which runners will suffer from this the most, and which runners do not care at all? Let's see. Well, on the I don't care end of the spectrum, there clearly is Andromeda and the Professor, both of which are completely unaffected by this ability. There's Nasir Maidan also. This current that to blank out the identity box could actually be a boon for Nasir Maidan, because with this current out, now Nasir is able to run servers with cheap eyes such as pop-up window or paper wall, which are getting more and more prevalent these days, without suffering credit loss. So that's pretty good. It could be a benefit to him. The rest of the runners are all adversely affected one way or another. On the not so bad end of the spectrum, there are like Silhouette Exile, and Alarmy Fisk, whose abilities are, in my opinion, not that strong, or don't really trigger every single turn. So they can afford to get by even though this current is out. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, there are runners like Gabe and Ken, as well as Ian Sterling, who are all quite crippled because they lose their source of income that they are very used to, gaining 1 or 2 credits for doing certain things. The most crippling tree on the right hand side, Ian Sterling, as mentioned earlier, is extremely crippling because he's put in a lose-lose situation. Either he doesn't gain the 2 credits every turn for being on a lower agenda point count, or he attempts to score an agenda to get rid of the current. However, if he scores an agenda, he will increase his pool of agenda points, which might very well also blank out his identity text box, because if he has the same number or more agenda points than the Corp, he's not gaining 2 credits per turn. Kit is also heavily affected by this current because most Kit decks revolve their deck building around Code Gate Breakers. So if this current is played early, Kit will suffer heavily, especially against Jinteki, where she can no longer face check the likes of Newer Katanas and Surugis. Then finally, we have Chaos Theory. It's really either a hit or miss with Chaos Theory, really. However, if it hits, I think Chaos Theory will be in a huge load of trouble, because if she loses her 1 MU when she's on 5 MU, she is forced to trash a program immediately. And at least the choice lies with her, so I guess it's not that bad as I make it out to be, but still, being forced to trash a program just because of current is really quite painful. So, after all that said, unfortunately, I think Cerebral Static is not really strong. I mean, it definitely is not a top tier card like Enhanced Login Protocol, that's for sure. It isn't extremely game changing by any means. The runner can easily work around it, or yes, tolerate it for 1 or 2 turns before scoring an agenda or trashing it with their own current. In fact, it is in the Jinteki faction, which means that it has to compete with lag time, and Jinteki players might want lag time over Cerebral Static. Lag time provides benefits such as pumping Neuro Katanas from strength 3 to strength 4, which is incredibly huge. And yes, that's the main point. That's the main benefit. And I can't really think of many others off the top of my head, but I would think that Cerebral Static would probably give way to lag time, even in a Jinteki deck, let alone in other decks. It is just too situational, especially given that nowadays Andromeda is pretty popular. It's still pretty popular, so Cerebral Static really can be a hit or miss. So once again, unfortunately, Jinteki gets hosed because their current is just not as strong as what HB has, which is a very huge pity, because I love the idea, I absolutely love the concept. However, I think in practice, we won't see much of Cerebral Static, unfortunately. So what do you think about currents? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.